This podcast is a production of Corpus Christi FC and Route 3 Productions, broadcasting from the Corpus Christi FC headquarters in Corpus Christi, Texas, the sparkling city by the sea. This is the Corpus Christi FC podcast with your host, Sharks head coach Manny, Iwabuchi, and Corpus Christi FC creative director Matt Pierce. Welcome to Shark Nation. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Matt Pierce, along with Coach Manny Iwabuchi with the Corpus Christi Sharks FC Corpus Christi. This is our first episode of the podcast where Coach and I are going to be sitting here having a couple of candid conversations about the team, about the sport, and kind of where the whole thing's going, and what the future looks like, and kind of reflecting a little bit on the last season a little bit. Coach, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, no, Matt, thanks for having me. This is actually pretty exciting. I think these are one of the things that I enjoy doing as I drive a lot. So I enjoy listening to podcasts, so being a part of one is pretty cool.
Who's one of your favorite podcasts?
Man, putting me on the spot. I think right now, I think I'm listening to a lot of this one podcast called A Short History of. It's just about a lot of historical events, just kind of going back on them. So it's pretty interesting.
One thing I'm actually listening to a lot here lately is there's this guy. It's called the podcast is called Tank, and he talks a lot about he's a roadie and he does this from the road, like he's a roadie on concerts and stuff, and he's kind of digging into the whole concert business and what goes into making a road show happen, right? And I didn't realize this just looking at it, but all the people it takes to put on a freaking concert, right? Like, I had no idea the logistics behind this. And so anyway, he's one of the podcasts I've been listening at a lot here. But well, hey, real quick, man, let's jump into this a little bit, Manny, and let's talk. We got tryouts coming up on December 10th. I think we're going to be having it over at, is it going to be over at Incarnate Word on Alameda? Is that right?
I believe so. Yes, sir. We were looking for facilities here, obviously locally in Corpus. And I actually worked there as a high school boys coach. So I hooked Kingsley up with our athletic director, and I think they worked it out. So if all went well, then we should be having it at Incarnate Word.
And we this tryout is on December 10th. Manny, what kind of happens at this tryout? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. If I'm coming to try out for Corpus FC? I've never done it before. What do I expect?
For me, tryouts in general, I say this at the youth levels, and I think it's kind of the same. The one I got to be a part of last season with Coach Nacho. I kind of told a couple of players the same. I feel like tryouts in a sense, especially just like one day tryouts, I feel like they're a little bit of an unfair evaluation of players because they come in for one day, they're probably nervous. They don't really get to do a ton in the 2-hour sessions or whatever we have slotted that, it kind of turns into that just, I don't like to put a lot of value into the overall evaluations, but it is a very good gauge of talent. It's somebody that can come in and kind of just show. And for me, a tryout isn't a specific session. It's not a physical thing. It's not hey, I'm going to put on a session for you guys and we're going to work on specific things. No, for me, honestly, I like to get them warmed up. I like to put them in groups and I like to let them play. I like to let them play 11v11 and see what they can do. And obviously the game model that we're going to be playing in. So
what, this tryout, you say you kind of group them up 11 to 11. Are these kids going to be? We're going to have high school players. We're going to have university level players. We're coming in from the schools.
Yeah. So the hope is to kind of. For me, what I would like for this one to be is I definitely would like for some of the younger players, some of the high school players to come out and kind of showcase their ability. On the recruiting scale, some of the players that I've seen that have sent emails out to us that are in college, I have encouraged them to come just because I don't get the full scale of somebody over a video. I'd like to see them in person. So I think it'll be a mix. It'll be a mix of of maybe some younger players that want to take their shot at it, that want to put themselves in front of our staff. I think it might be some college players that have already done that we've already been introduced and might just want to, hey, we need to see you in person type of thing. And quite honestly, it might be some more veteran, more experienced players that, they want to take another crack at it and want to see if they can get on the roster. So it's exciting in that sense. You never really know what you're going to get. But it's definitely more one of those. It's kind of up in the air. You don't really know what you're going to get into there. So
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about on the tryout front. If you want to play for FC Corpus Christi, and you can't make this particular tryout, I guess they can still send you video. Is that right? They can still. I mean, you solicit video from any player who wants to watch it, right? Or any player that wants to send it, right?
Yes, sir. No, so I think tryouts is kind of like that in-person step, but if I'm being completely honest, there isn't a ton of players that we take from open tryouts. Yeah. It's more a relationship that starts like at the moment I'm fully in the recruiting process. I was in San Antonio last night watching St. Mary's and CSU Pueblo play. And I was able to it was unfortunately 2-1 to CSU Pueblo. Yeah, St. Mary's dropped, but it was a competitive game. Obviously we had some St. Mary's boys on our group last year, and I was able to spot some guys on the CSU side. So a lot of the players that end up making our roster, if I'm being completely transparent, are players that we have identified, that we have quote unquote scouted, and then therefore recruited to come down. So they have a lot of we put a little bit more time into seeing who they are. The open tryout process is kind of flipping that on its head and allowing them to come to us. So if that process brings one or two players out of it, I think it was successful.
Yeah. And you just mentioned a little bit about St. Mary's. For us as a club, St. Mary's has been a great pipeline. I mean, we had Denny Cresto up there. We had Ariel Cordozo's playing up there, right? Mm-hmm. Andre Schlafly, I don't know how you say
Schlafly.
Schlafly, there you go. Is playing up there. I think we've got Morgan Miller,
yes, sir,
alumnus from here, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think we're doing what we're meant to do. Partly what we're meant to do, right? We're getting these guys prepared for when they go back to their NCAA schools or wherever they go. And coach, I think it's showing up there. I mean, St. Mary's was, Lone Star Conference champions this year. I like to think that we're putting something back into that pipeline, and St. Mary's has been a good pipeline for us as far as talent, right?
Yeah, of course. No, first and foremost, congratulations to them. They had a spectacular year. As you were mentioning, I was actually counting last night on my way back home. We had eight of the boys that played with us last summer that were eventually playing for St. Mary's in the fall. But yeah, no, to answer your question, I do think that there's give and take. There's a side of it that obviously we benefit from their talents and them being in Corpus. From our perspective, from St. Mary's perspective, they definitely get to build some of the chemistry or build on some of the chemistry they already have. They get to spend minutes on the field, which I think is extremely valuable. And yeah, of course, I would like to think that we played a hand in at least helping a little bit of that side of it. Obviously, once they get into the season, tactics and things are a little bit different. But yeah, no, of course, I'm super proud of those guys. Seeing them play last night in a super competitive environment and game, seeing them play throughout the season, it's been pretty awesome. So, shout out to St. Mary's for sure.
Really.
Always helping us out with some players and getting them down here. And like I said, I hope they feel the same about us.
Yeah, we've got a lot of talent throughout the whole country. I mean, we got. I think Cuba Grant's having a great season up at Dixie State, I think, and up there in Utah. So we've got a lot of talent scattered all throughout the country. And this team last year, our 2022 squad, coach, we had a lot of talent on this team, didn't we? But if I look back on it, it was the game in Brazos Valley. We had this game. It was a road game for us. It seemed like that was a real turning point for this club in the season. I mean, up to that point, we were first in our division here. What do you think happened there? Looking back on that, we've had a few months to digest this, and what was it? I mean, we like to chalk it up as injuries, right? But was it was it really injuries? Was it that our reserve players maybe? I mean, looking at a 30,000 foot view of this, right? What do you think happened from the coach's standpoint?
Overall, like you said, I think we can point the finger at a lot of
Yeah.
different things, but I think it was just a different step. I think we might have yeah, the injury bug caught us a little bit, but nothing over the top to where we couldn't have performed in those games. And I think more so the conversations that I had, they went along the lines of we were just a little bit too inexperienced to play in games like that.
Mhm.
We did have to have some players step up that might have, not ever been in a match with that type of intensity, with that type of physicality. And it showed. And unfortunately, like you said, it definitely was a turning point because we were running away with things early on. We ran into the best team in the league, and a ton of credit to Brazos. I don't want to just say it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
this,
right.
and that. They were pretty great team,
A hell of a
very
team.
well organized,
Yeah.
very well organized, very well set up. It definitely took a lot out of Coach Nacho and I to figure out what was going on and try to put our boys in the best position to be successful. So a lot of credit to their coaching staff and to their players. They were a good team, but we're definitely coming back to try to get that one back in
For
2023.
sure. Coach, let's talk a little bit about that from your perspective, right? You and Coach Nacho, when you had this, when I guess after that Brazos Valley game there in College Station, I think Cuba, I think we saw a real change in Cuba Grant. Up to this point, I think he'd only allowed maybe one or two goals the entire season. I mean, if that, I mean, he had a wonderful game. Then he allows four in one game, right? And 4 or 5. And, as coaches, when you look at this, when you find yourself in that position, coach, what do you do? What goes through your head? How do you prepare? Or do you prepare to deal with those rapid changes, or do you have this planned out ahead of time? In the locker room. I mean, how do you personally address the issues like that when they come up?
Quite honestly, it's kind of an understanding. I think one of the big things I've always said about like coaches, I think players make the best coaches because you're being put in situations that you've already experienced as a player, and it's a lot easier to be understanding. It's a lot easier to really just put yourself in the shoes of the players. So in that situation, the understanding for me, at least, I don't want to speak for Coach Nacho, but for me at least was, look, soccer is a game of form. There's games where there's stretches of games 2, 3, 4, 5, where I mean you're pulling save after save, you're scoring goal after goal, whatever it might be. You're flying high, and then the next game you're messing up routine things, and not to say that that's what happened with the situation that we had with Brazos, but I think that's kind of what it was. Let's just say, look, we were flying high for a while. We were in great form, and it caught up to us. It caught up to us, and unfortunately, like I said, I really do think it was a mentality and the experience of the boys and ourselves as coaches as well, that couldn't pull us out of that hole that we were in. And unfortunately, it turned out biting. So definitely put in the learned lessons pocket. But to finish up that question, I do believe it's more just that, just the understanding. Like, look, we're gonna get out of the other side of this. What's the type of work that we need to do in training or whatever it might be, to make that process a little quicker? But I mean, it's soccer. It happens. We have to accept it, and we have to figure out how to solve the problem, not just sit there and just say, hey, you know what, it's a problem. So
Yeah, and when I used to, I don't know if you knew this, but years ago I used to umpire baseball at the. It used to go all the way up to the D1 level, and went to umpire school, whole 9 yards. And one of the things I used to do was evaluate younger umpires as they'd come through the system, and I always tell them, I say, the key to this here is not, you know, is not just going out there and watching baseball, but it's out there looking at pitches. It's out there participating every pitch, and getting out under your belt. And I heard you kind of mention that a while ago, was about our players when they get ready to go to the college level, or when they get ready to move on here at Corpus Christi. They're getting very valuable minutes on the field, minutes of playing time. But to back that up, uh, they're getting a lot of one-on-one coaching with you guys, and I've watched you out there on the pitch before and seen you at practice, somebody pointed this out. He said, "Well, Manny doesn't seem very charismatic. He's not out there like a football coach." You're not. I think it's probably your personality, but you're more of a you're more of the quiet leader. It seems like. Does that come natural for you?
I believe so because I honestly never really thought of it. I guess it did just come naturally in that sense. It's always kind of been. I mean, through playing career wise, that's definitely the feedback I would get from coaches. Some of them urging me to be a little bit louder, a little bit more commanding. Some of them just say, "Man, just do what you got to do and let people follow." So from that perspective, I do think, and I think a lot of it comes down to the environments that you're put in. I like to think that I can adjust well to where I'm at.
Sure.
And in situations like with CCFC, when you're around a bunch of guys that have been doing it for quite a while, obviously some of them are still young, so you still need to provide that authority in a sense sometimes. But I do believe that a lot of them, yelling and doing this and doing that, and I mean, if it's not organic, they call you out on it, right? If it's not real, if it's not genuine, they'll figure it out. So I try my best to do what I feel like is correct. I try my best to be myself and hope that it works out. And some of the rapport and relationships that I was able to build with some of the players, I do think that it was helpful. When we had kind of the two sides of it, Nacho and I think we're kind of the same in a lot of ways. He definitely had a little bit of the other side of it, a little bit louder at times, where I was more, let me receive. I have this 3R thing that I actually heard from the podcast: receive, reflect, react. Receive the information, reflect on the information, react to it. So that's kind of the way that I go about things. But I would say yeah, it's a fair assessment.
But it's funny. We'll sit there and we'll have these conversations with Kingsley, the owner and president of the club, and Kingsley is me. I'm a talker naturally. I'll talk to a wall if I think he'll talk back. But Kingsley's a lot that same way. Kingsley's a very deliberate individual. Everything that he does is very deliberate, and everything that he listens quite a bit. And I've noticed one thing about this club is the culture of this club. It's truly a team effort from the top all the way down, right? To no matter who you are. It's adapt, improvise, and overcome. Whether you're dealing with Kingsley about internet issues at the stadium, to not having a PA announcer or whatever, to personnel issues on the field. This is really, and I've noticed this, and this is one thing that I've noticed a lot, and I think you guys probably feel a little bit more as the coaching staff, but there really is a team culture within this organization. I think, wouldn't you agree?
No, absolutely. I think that hits it just about on the head for anything. I think that's one of the reasons why I like it a lot. I'm a relationships person. I like having relationships with people. I like working on those relationships, obviously with family as well. So the team sport for me just resembles that. And what you come to find after a while is the more work that you put into making the team environment proper, feel more like a family environment, the more success that you'll tend to find. It's not always going to work out, but that's just the way it is. But absolutely, I mean, I think the best way that I can put it is successes on the pitch are very different from things that might be going wrong off the pitch. So we definitely need to have the two sides of the staff that are all willing to put in the work to make these players feel comfortable to do what we need them to do and help them on their side of it as well. One of the biggest pitches that I have in recruiting at the moment is, not essentially what we can take from them, which is obviously the performance, but also what they can take from us. So being able to bring them into an environment where they can trust us, where they know that we're going to work for them and we're going to do what we need to do for them, both off the pitch and on the pitch. It takes a village. I definitely can't. I'm not able to do everything that I would like to do. Yeah. But that's where people like Marissa Trevino come in, like Kingsley comes in, like yourself. I think all of that plays a giant role in how successful this club can be, because it's already shown some success. But what we got going forward, I think, is pretty exciting.
Well, and you bring up a good point, and like we're talking here with Coach Manny Iwabuchi with the Sharks here, Manny, like we're talking about the teamwork. It truly is. I look at some of these other clubs, and my wife and I own a media company, a production company, and here in Corpus Christi, and we work with folks all over the country, all over the world, literally. And working with a group of professionals, I don't sit here and collect a salary for what I do with this club, but I want to see the club do well. Kind of to my point here, and you mentioned it a little bit with your recruiting statements, a little bit, and your recruiting efforts. If you're a young player out there, let's say you don't know USL2, right? There's a soccer hierarchy, right? Here in the States, it's probably a little bit different than most places, but where do we fit in as a USL club? If you know nothing about this sport, where do you fit in as a USL2 club within that hierarchy of soccer? Or are we even in it? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, through the experiences, I don't have many. Last year was my first year experiencing USL2. When I was a player at USL2, I mean, it might have been a thing, but it was very small. There was other leagues that were a little bit bigger. Now, in recent years, USL Championship, USL1, USL2 is kind of taking that role of college players want to play USL2. And the reason that I think that's the case is, number one, they keep their eligibility, they keep their amateurism, so they can continue to play collegiately, which I think is a big key. And I think it does well to showcase. I think what Coach Nacho and I coined it last year was the USL2 is a showcase league. It's that's what it's about. It's not. Yeah, it's not about. Of course you want to win. You want there's those investments in it, but overall, I seriously do believe, and this kind of goes into my philosophy for the season coming up. Winning puts you in situations to be showcased. If we win, if we do our job, obviously we get to be nationally ranked, or we get to be a part of the national playoffs, or whatever it might be. So the more that we win, the more that they're showcased, and that's kind of the way that I see it. So obviously the way you go about winning, it pays a big it's a big piece of that pie. But at the same time, that's what I think the USL2 is. I think it's a showcase league. It puts you in front of maybe some scouts or some other coaches that have contacts, and the things are endless. So if you perform in this league, if you do well in this league, there's opportunities. I truly do believe that. But as well, I mean, you get to play at a high level. You get to play at a high level, maybe in a city you haven't been to before. Get to experience it from that perspective. We offer housing options as well, so being able to kind of do all that, come over to somewhere where you, like I said, you haven't maybe been before, and get to essentially live for free and get to play soccer. Like there's not much.
Wouldn't take that, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's not much better than that.
Still get to keep your NCAA eligibility. Being a baseball guy, I always tell people this. Coming from baseball, I say, if when folks look at us, I get this question a lot as I go around town. I talk to people about the Sharks and about the club. They ask me, he said, well, are they professionals? And I say, well, you know what? The short answer, the technical answer is absolutely we're not. You don't want to say professionals, because you're getting paid for this, but there's other ways, that these players can help out, within as you point out, like with the academy or whatever, to get a little stipend. We pay for their housing and, some of their food costs and stuff. But as a baseball person, right, I always tell folks when I have this conversation is we're kind of somewhere between instructionals and A-level baseball. I mean, our players, they're the equivalent to minor league baseball, AA, or A ball. And so I think our players command a very similar respect to that. Wouldn't you agree? And
absolutely.
Does, yeah.
Absolutely. I think the whole I guess little slogan or whatever it might be for USL is pathway to pro.
Yeah.
And we're kind of the first step to that. A lot of these guys, in my opinion, I mean, I could rave on about a couple of guys we had last year, but, just to keep it short, I think, someone like Ariel Cardoso, he's a pro. The guy's a pro. He just needs to be put in front of somebody that's going to give him a chance, but
This team
players like that.
Sure.
Yeah, no, of course. We were very talented, which is why that bitter taste got left in the mouth, when we couldn't advance, but yeah, that's what kind of drives the hunger for next season. But to finish up that question, yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the pathways to being professionals, and keeping your eligibility all the same, and just trying to go through that journey. I think here in the US, personal opinions aside,
yeah,
the journey is extensive. It's extensive. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And I think this is one very not unique way, but I think it's a very positive way to go about it, because we talked about it earlier in this conversation. The best experience in soccer is minutes, is being on the pitch. And that's what we provide. We provide an opportunity to do that. We provide a national spotlight and stage to do that. And if we can be successful within it, I think there's a lot of benefits, not just as players, but as coaches, and I think that's one of the reasons why taking a chance at that at such a young age, was kind of big for me. So it's definitely exciting. I don't take USL too lightly at all, whether it's my job or not. I think there's a lot of pluses to a lot of the people that are involved in USL 2 right now to be professionals in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just to kind of wrap things up here, we're recording this. It's Friday, November 18th. We're less than a week now till Thanksgiving. Manny, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
You as well. You as well, man.
We have a great Thanksgiving, and we got these tryouts coming up on December 10th. You can visit our website, ccfc.com or corpuscfc.com, corpuscfc.com. You can visit our website there. There's some player bios. You can see our previous rosters and have access to a lot of great content that myself and different other folks put together. Marissa, I think, puts together some content there for the academy, and great looking website. Kingsley, actually, the owner of the club, put a lot of work into that website.
Yes, sir.
He put a lot of work into that website, and it's great. And we want to reach out and thank him for all his support that he does with this club and giving us an opportunity, right, to be able to do this. But the tryouts are on December 10th. There's a link on the website there to sign up if you want to try out for it and get some. If you can't make it, obviously you can get a hold of Coach Manny here. We'll take a look at some tape and stuff. Manny, we'll have a conversation after tryouts on the 10th. I guess we'll get together and we'll do this again. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we can have more of these conversations, these little coaches shows in the future and throughout the season, and see where it goes, huh?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is awesome. Just from an insight perspective, to allow people to kind of see the inside of what goes on with an organization. I think that's always a plus. It's always cool to be transparent, to be open. And just relate to the community, because at the end of the day, if I'm being honest, we wouldn't be a sports club if the community's not bought in. So if we can make that connection a little bit closer, I think that'd be great. So I'm definitely excited. I'm definitely all in whenever you guys will have me. So
Manny, I tell you, we'll keep doing this because I'll tell you, obviously we're all competitors in our own way, and I'm probably. My wife tells me I'm probably a little bit too competitive in a lot of things, but one reason I kind of pitched this idea to do this podcast and do a lot more video content and to do the photos with our players and really build this kind of PR outlet that we're doing here with the team is because no other USL club out there that I see is really offering that in-depth multimedia experience. And, I believe that just as firmly as you guys do, that's an area that we can compete in. And I think, in the world that we live in, right, being seen is so important and getting that exposure. And, I'm all about building this whole reputation as being a multimedia team, winning on and off the field. And I'm looking real forward to this. Figuring out many more of these conversations with you, man.
Yeah, of course. No, I agree with you. I agree. And like you said, we're competitors. We want to be at the forefront of everything. You know, on the pitch is just one small part of it.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I look forward to you. Hey, we thank you for joining us. Be sure and download us on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you get great podcasts. This podcast is a production of Corpus Christi FC and Route 3 Productions. All views presented in this podcast are those of the participant, not necessarily those of Corpus Christi FC, our sponsors, or affiliates. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to send us your feedback, leave a comment, and subscribe. Share with your network. Thanks for joining us on Shark Nation.